morning, good afternoon actually. Parents and teachers. Now, when I do that greeting, it's normally ladies, gentlemen, guests of honor, this, that, and the other. But frankly speaking, if you say parents, children, and teachers, it pretty much encompasses the whole world, because a teacher is anyone who does anything. This is what we don't realize, that children don't learn because someone tells them, it's time for you to learn this. Children learn because they see, they observe. And at the study school, for the last 48 years, our world has been centered around children. And in these COVIDian times, we set up the Stay Connected and Learn series. We're delighted to have Momspresso as our partner for this. And as you know, Momspresso is India's largest user-generated content platform for women. And it has an outreach of more than 30 million people, and in 10 different languages. So therefore, it really is a platform that reaches out and connects in a way that, say, all of us want to. Well, we're delighted to have here with us a guest who is someone very close to my heart, because she is a giver. A giver is someone who does for society, who does for their family, who does for their friends, and whose time on earth makes a difference to the parameters that existed before. So ladies and gentlemen, teachers and parents, and our lovely children, and incidentally grandparents too, I'd like to welcome you all to the Study School's Stay Connected and Learn series. And this time our topic is how to boost your child's creativity. We had a fantastic webinar last time with Ishi Khosla, where we talked about what should be on your children's plates. And I watched that over and over again, because it was just not about nutrition for children. It was, in a sense, life's gyan. So I'm sure we'll enjoy our conversation with Shalu. Before I introduce you to Shalu Jindal, I would like you to see something very special about her, and that is the artist in her. So that is Shalu Jindal, our wonderful Kuchipudi danceress. She has been awarded the Indra Priyadarshini Award. She has received the Rajiv Gandhi Award. She has been recognized even overseas for the kind of contribution he has done, not just in the field of dance, but as a person who's worked with CSR. She heads the JSPL Foundation, and she has been the former chairperson of the National Bal Bhavan. As we go along, I'll tell you more about how she's been the founder, president of YFlow, which is the Young FICCI Ladies Organization, and so many more feathers in Shalu Jindal's cap. But before we proceed, I'd like to take you back to that video clip. It was not one, but there were two. And which one was her? Could you make out? Well, which one was not her? Who was the other one? That is the legacy that we take forward with us. One was Shalu and the other was her daughter, Yashaswini. Ladies and gentlemen, parents, grandparents, teachers and children, let's give a hand for Shalu Jindal. Shalu.
Thank you so much, Shivani, for such a kind and epic introduction. It's an honor and a great opportunity for me to be here amongst all the parents, grandparents, teachers and children. And I hope I'll learn as much as they learn from our interaction.
So Shalu, I'm going to start with taking you down your own journey. You started off with dance, or where was, you have such a tremendous art appreciation. You have a wonderful art collection. You have not done up your house just by someone doing it for you. You have been involved in every step of the way. So where does the creative gem stem from?
I think like we're talking today about creativity in children and how parents play such an important role in inculcating that, in your child. So I was very fortunate to be blessed with parents who were very creative. My father used to sing a lot at home and he had a wonderful voice, and every evening after dinner he used to sit and he used to play the tabla on the dining table and sing, and all of us used to join him together. My mother herself is a very, good singer. So she always wanted that her children should also pursue, some form of creative art. So she inculcated the art form dance in me. And I'm very, very grateful to her now that she pushed me, she made sure that I attended all my dance classes when I was a child. Because if, she hadn't been there for me, probably I wouldn't be what I am today. So my personality, what I am, I would say it's because I'm a dancer that I'm able to do so many other things in my life. So all credit goes to my parents. They pushed me to learn dance, to learn different forms of other creative art forms like Hindustani classical music. I also learned the sitar when I was much younger. So I think parents play a very important role in your journey.
Shalu, that's definitely a mom's presso moment where you say you can't thank your mom enough. And yesterday I was on a session with them called I Am Enough as a mother. And they are doing this wonderful fundraiser for the Salam Balak Trust. And it's going to carry on till tomorrow, which is Mother's Day. So I'm glad you acknowledge your mom. I'm going to use this platform to say, for those of you who'd like to contribute to the Salam Balak Trust, they look after so many children, street children who don't have an alternate and another place to go to. So a home away from home. So please do contribute to that. We'll share the link with you after this in case you'd like to. Coming back to your story, Shalu, you said your mom encouraged you to do Kathak when you were a little girl, but you went on to do Kuchipudi and achieved excellence there. So where did the connection with Kathak break, and how did that happen?
So as a child, I learned Kathak for many years, and but when I got married, I left dance and decided to concentrate more on my home life. So I used to travel a lot with my husband. Wherever he used to go, I used to be with him. Then we started the JSPL Foundation together. So I was very committed to working, for the CSR initiatives of the company. Along the journey, my children came. So my son was born and then my daughter was born. So I was a full-time homemaker as well as looking after the CSR initiatives. Then I met my gurus, Padma Bhushan, Sri Raja Radha Reddy and Kaushalya Reddy at Tirupati Balaji temple just by chance. I think it was a divine coincidence that I had also gone to, take darshan of the Lord the same time that they were there. So I saw them and I recognized who they were because they are very famous. So I went up to them and I, told them that I'm a Kathak dancer and I love your dance form. I've seen your dance performances on television. And so we exchanged numbers, and Guruji told me that you must come and watch our next performance in Delhi. So I said, yes, of course I will. And then, the temple doors opened. We went inside the temple together. We did the darshans together. So it was very nice. We kind of, got along very well together, and, we became friends, in such a short time. And then when I came back to Delhi, I got a call from Guruji after a month. And the first thing he told me on the phone was, "Tu meri shishya kab banogi?" So I really felt that maybe this is God's way of telling me that I should go back to dance. So I went up to Guruji and I started learning Kuchipudi. I was 30 years of age at that time, and it had been around 6 years, 7 years since I had left dance Kathak. So for me, it was little difficult to get back to such a rigorous, performing art form. You're a dancer yourself, you do Odissi, I know. So it's very difficult, if you take a break and then go back, as it is with any art form.
In fact,
But
for me, Shalu, I knew your Kuchipudi journey began at the age post 30. And I always thought that this was some unbelievable formula, because for me, I knew that when it comes to the classical arts, it's something that has to be introduced to you in your childhood. And to suddenly take it up later, I thought there was only one Pratima Bedi who had married to do Odissi post 30, and there was one Shalu Jindal who had done Kuchipudi. But then as I got to know, you had your roots in Kathak. So coming to what our parents would be interested in, do you think that that other formula is just a chance that later in life a child might find roots in a classical art? Or is it something that has to be introduced to a child early in life?
I think childhood comprises of formative years in one's life, and any skill that you develop then carries on into adulthood as well. So it's very important to start young and to start developing a skill at an early age and then honing them as you grow older. When I say skill, Shivani, I mean anything. It could be sports, creative arts, visual arts, languages, and so on. I also believe that creative fields allow the children to engage in creative thinking, self-expression, and amazing values like discipline, hard work, perseverance, commitment. And I think all those values really helped me post 30 to be able to become a Kuchipudi dancer.
So, Shalu, I'm going to take you through the journey with your children. First, your daughter, and then your son. So, Yashaswini is also a Kuchipudi dancer and an athlete. So, take us through what was your formula, how you introduced what at what stage. And I'm sure there were times. I mean, for me, I remember when my Guruji used to come and I was not in a group class, I was in an individual class at home. If my Guru hadn't been the kindest soul on earth, I don't think I would have been able to be a dancer. It was just that he was so cajoling and encouraging, and my mother would not let me give up. So, what was your formula with Yashaswini? What was your mother's formula with you?
So I think it's on the parents to encourage the children to try out new activities and then let the child decide what they are most passionate about. Like in my experience, I would say that I encouraged both my children to try out different extracurricular activities. My daughter Yashaswini always was more inclined towards the creative arts. So she tried her hand at Hindustani classical music, learning instruments like the sitar, the guitar, the piano, and she also tried her hand at Western dance forms as well as Indian classical dance and arts and crafts. And ultimately, after having tried out so many different areas, she chose Indian classical dance kuchipudi, and I was really happy about that. Here I'd like to share that in the middle, she also left dance because probably children don't like you very much when you push them, you know. So, so she decided to leave dance, but I he kept on encouraging her wholeheartedly to continue. And today she is extremely grateful that I did. Like she thanks me every day. She's like, Mom, you were the only one who made me a dancer. I'm so happy that you pushed me in a very positive manner. You didn't let me give up. So I guess, most parents have to do that.
So I'm going to ask you a question that Isha is asking. She's the mother of Ivan, and Ivan is the most delightful child. When we had the study school fancy dress, he dressed up as a radio, and he was just about 2 years old. And this little 2-year-old with ringlets on his head came on stage, and he sang the entire Om Jai Jagadish Hare. I have never had a more touching moment in my life. And after that, I tried to replicate it in school so many times. Ivan, please gado. But he wouldn't do it. He needed the stage, he needed the audience, and then he performed. So his book says how to encourage creative thinking in kids at an early age.
I think there are many ways you can encourage creative thinking, with kids at any age, early or maybe a little later as well. I think the best ways is to expose them, to different forms of creative arts by taking them out to watch theatrical productions, dance recitals.
Shalu, taking them out in COVIDian times.
The times are much better, when the COVIDian times are over, then one can go back to doing that. But even in COVIDian times, I think there's so much happening online right now.
Yes.
We have online dance recitals happening, and there's so many recordings of amazing theatrical productions that one can make the child watch sitting with them at home. Musical concerts one can watch as well. I mean, because of technology, we have advanced so much that even sitting at home, we can experience all kinds of art forms. And it's very important to expose the child to that. And also, you can help the child with time management. Because, even like the days are so long, you're sitting at home. So it's very important to make a proper schedule for them. Okay, this is the time to watch this is the time to actually practice what you have watched. Or if you want to learn something, there are online classes available now. So you can learn dance, you can learn any instrument, you can even learn singing online. So, I mean, technology has really made life easy for us. But having said that, there is no substitute for pure human contact.
That's
And,
true.
and I hope, keeping fingers crossed, that, we get out of these trying times really soon.
Yes. So Isha asked you that question, and Dolly Polki's mother had a similar question. So I think your answer covers that. And Shalu, we at the study school are actually doing virtual online classes. So it's called the Virtual Learning Program. And as you said, that whole timetable. And we also tell the parents that while the child can be in a comfortable environment, someone's lolling on a sofa, someone on a more comfortable space. By and large, if you can encourage the child to be at a desk or on a chair or in a particular place which is demarcated as their place for doing the class, and then even similarly for when they're doing their fun work, messing around, a particular place in the house, that leads to less stress for the parents that Sara kabadi ho raha hai. And at the same time, the child has the freedom, because children must have the ability to stretch, to drop, to not have color within the lines, to
Yes.
be able to just go out there and really experiment.
I think
So
we
then,
must welcome the child's creativity. We must welcome that. I mean, we can persuade the child to behave in a certain way, but then after doing that, give him some time to also, welcome his creativity, whatever the child wants to do.
yes. So Shalu, this is Vibha, Veda's mum. Veda's our little doll with always a nice flower or a bow on her head and another head of curly locks. Absolutely delicious. So she says, what is the right age to streamline a child and enhance focal creative strength? So age-wise is what she's really worried about. Her daughter's just about 3.
So I think age 6 or 7 years would be the right age to kind of, sense, what your daughter's interest would be at that point. Because, below the age of 6 or 7, I think the child is too young. So we must give the child time to be a child. So, let them have fun, be outdoors, play with toys, read books with them, show them things on the television, or take them out and show them, expose them to different things after these trying times are over, expose them to various things,
Yes.
but let them properly go into any kind of creative art or performing art or sports or any kind of skill, from the age of 6 or 7.
Shalu, when you were heading the National Bal Bhavan, you actually started the shooting facilities there. They already had a number of facilities for children to be exposed to sport and art and creativity. So what was the idea of bringing in shooting, and like, what do you think, how 360 does the exposure for children need to be?
I think it's very important for children to have a complete 360 exposure. Because, when a child is young, the child doesn't know, where his interests lie. But I think by a certain age, it becomes very obvious to the child and the parents that this is the interest that the child wants to pursue. And at that point, the parents should encourage the child and cultivate the interest further. So, National Bal Bhavan, as we all know, is under the Ministry of Human Resource and Development, Government of India, and it's a facility which has been made especially for underprivileged children. I mean, children from all walks of life are welcome to come and become a member and experience the facilities there. But it's mainly targeted for the underprivileged children who don't have any access to extracurricular activities. So I mean, have done many programs through the National Bal Bhavan, inculcating shooting as one of the sports disciplines, which was not there, was also because we had a few Olympians who visited the National Bal Bhavan. Because my husband Naveen himself is a skeet shooter, so he invited a few Olympians of skeet as well as other like trap and skeet to come and visit NBB while I was the chairperson, so that they could guide us and advise us what more we can do to contribute. So they said shooting is one of the sport that Indians are very good at. Like chess, shooting. These are, the sports that Indians always win medals when they go for any competitions. And these children have so much of talent, but they don't have the facility. So it was a very natural thing then for us to say, okay, fine, let's open a shooting range for the children. And Shivani, I have to share with you that the children there are so excited to be able to learn a skill such as shooting. We started with the air pistol, and the classes are going on really well. And National Bal Bhavan offers a wide range of arts and crafts. I must tell the parents that right now it's shut, of course, because of the COVID times. But by next year, I'm sure when we are, this too shall pass.
Yes.
Here they must go and try out the different activities there.
So Shalu, here's where I want to ask you a question. You said that National Bal Bhavan is primarily for underprivileged children. Did you have the opportunity to take your children there and interact with the children who were benefiting from the classes there? And how important is it to expose children who come from a background where there may be many facilities to children who come from a background where there are less facilities? And does this enhance their creativity and create empathy?
Yes, it definitely enhances creativity and creates empathy because children as such do not discriminate between each other. It's us adults who put these thoughts in our children's mind. For a child, the other child is a friend. They would like to play with the child. So I mean, it's very important for your children to mix with their peers. It doesn't matter whether they're from a certain background or a certain religious affiliation or whatever. As children, they need to mix with each other because at the end of the day, we're all children, we're all citizens of the same country. So at Bal Bhavan also, we had public schools. Like we had modern school, sending their children to interact, with the children there or to learn some activity there. We had workshops. So it was a great experience for all children to learn something together. At the same time, I must say that the National Bal Bhavan caters from 6 years of age to 16 years of age. So my children were quite old by the time I became the chairperson. But I do remember when they were children, I had taken them to National Bal Bhavan because their toy train is very famous.
Yeah.
So the toy train ride is very famous. So I remember doing that with my kids. But my children did come, like Yashaswini did come for one of the performing arts classes. We had Bharatnatyam and Kathak. They are very famous at National Bal Bhavan. We have amazing teachers, by the way, at National Bal Bhavan teaching the kids. Some of them are even ex-Padam Shris,
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Actually, when you talk about taking the children, I remember taking Aisha for a performance of Ashley Lobo's Agni. And when we were sitting there, she said, Mom, it's very different because they had no music. It was just pure dance, and the music was the sound of the bodies slapping against each other as they were working or falling on the ground, or just the magic of that silence and the way the movement was made into the loudest sound and presence there. And I had no idea, but when she came back, she went back to dance after that performance. And during that performance, I really wasn't sure if she was engaging or not. Shalu, when you talked about the experiences right now, you spoke about it doesn't have to be any particular religion. But when it comes to creativity, I think it's very closely linked to spirituality. So how does creativity come from a spirituality? How do you divorce the religion aspect and yet maintain the sanctity of spirituality, of creativity?
So I believe that spirituality means getting lost in whatever you're doing because your mind, your body, everything is just focused on that one work that you're doing. And then every act becomes an act of worship. So for me, that is the meaning of spirituality. So when I dance, I get so lost in my dance that my mind doesn't wander here and there. So for me, I'm so connected with the divine, the divinity that I'm trying to project through my dance. So that becomes an act of worship for me. In the same way, when my son plays polo or when he's doing horse riding, my husband also plays polo. So I ask them, when you're in the midst of the game, any thoughts come into your mind? They say, no, we are so focused on the ball and that we have to hit the ball and make sure that we take it nearer to the goal that there is just that concentration. So for them, that's meditation, that meditative form of just concentrating on that one thing.
Yes. You know, Shalu, I just found an envelope recently. It had 250 rupees in it. And it was the tent pegging prize that my husband Abir had won with your husband Naveen when
Ah,
they had tent pegged in their teenage years.
I remember that. Oh my God.
Having said that, this aspect about your son picking up polo, was that something? And, you know, uh, it's not very easy to pick up such a game. So, as a mother, did you encourage this? Did you think it was absolutely fine for your son to sort of follow the footprints of his father and take on the so-called dangerous game? So how dangerous is danger, and how much do you have to let go?
I think you have to let go because your children are independent beings. They were born of you, they are not yours. So it's important to keep that in mind, that fine, the attachment has to be there with the child, but at the same time, they are their own individuals. So, I mean, you give them the right values. You're there for them if they need you, but at the same time, you have to encourage them to follow their dreams. And I also believe that children ultimately emulate the parents. So whatever they see at home, they become that. So for my son, I did push him, in a lot of different activities, made him try out a lot of things which corresponded to his interests. And then ultimately he chose polo. And I think, it also meant that, both he and my husband could play together. So that played a very important role in his mind, that, he wanted to choose the same sport.
I think that's the magic of it. When you can do something with your child together, it's that quality time which cannot be matched. At the Study School's virtual learning program, we have, for example, this week we did colors, primary colors, and how when you mix them, they become secondary. And one of the parents, that is Samaira's mom, Ramandeep, she actually took jugs of colored water and had this little girl mix them. And I almost wanted to join them because it was so delicious looking, this whole exercise. So she has a question. I always wanted to know if my 3-year-old is creative enough, or do I need to work more with her? In other words, what are the parameters I should check to know about my daughter's creative sense?
I think daughter is too young, to be able to, kind of discuss anything, like, or to find out any tangible interests, creativity that she might have. So give her some time, but perhaps, she could talk to the teachers at school and find out more about her child's inclinations. So that might help, at the age of 3.
Definitely. I think the most important thing at the age of 2, 3, 4, even 5 is to expose them to those
Yes.
sensory feelings, to touch, to squish, to mix, to create. And that's what we do. Even in the virtual classes of the study school, we manage to do science experiments, whether it's mixing baking soda with hair conditioner and creating snow, or using a lid of an egg container to make the top of a tree, coloring it green, or even using an empty toilet paper roll to just make it into the stem of a tree. So as you can see, I'm going back to the roots and becoming creative in a very basic way, enjoying the teachers and the children and the
Amazing.
whole online experience. Okay, there's another question here from Ashima, Sohani's mum. How do I as a parent know that I'm not pushing my child or interrupting the growth of the child by telling them to do and to not do? So over instructing is her worry.
So I think she should see if a child is happy in whatever he or she is doing. And if they are happy with the activity that they are doing, then let them continue doing it. Having said that, sometimes you do have to penetrate the line, between pushing and pulling back. So that's a decision that a parent has to take, because sometimes the child, might become too tired or lazy, or, experience peer pressure and want to give up something, that they are
Yes.
very good at. So at that time, the parents, should encourage the child, to keep on doing the activity in a positive manner, so that, because parents can foresee the talent in their children when the children can't themselves. So it's very important to keep on encouraging your child.
I think at the same time, it's very important to know, all of us tend to think our child is gifted. And it's very important, because when you believe in your child, they feel good about themselves and they are able to excel. But also a little bit of a reality check, so that the child is not over pressured.
Yes.
And as Shalu said, a mother always knows. So Shalu, you spoke about this whole thing of Sohani and her mum asking about the over pushing thing, but you have created a book of alphabets. It's your first children's book. I know you've written other books before that, but it is rather advanced. So while alphabets are considered for little babies, the book has a tremendous sea of knowledge. Is that because, as Vice President of the Flag Foundation of India, you wanted to inculcate a very strong sense of Indianness? Or is it something that you feel that a parent and a child can sit together and go through a book of alphabets and really enhance the overall point of view of looking at larger and wider aspects of life?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, this is the book. I just kept a copy to show all the parents. So it's a great way of inculcating in our young ones, the pride that they should feel for their country, our history, heritage, and culture. So this book is actually the product of an idea to make India intelligible for our young ones. And as a mother, it was always a challenge for me to how to explain to my children this diverse and beautiful country, which is India. And I wanted to make the learning about India fun as well. So that's how this book came into being. So I thought of concentrating on the English alphabet to, make India intelligible for the children. And in this book, India the Alphabet Ride, it's more of a visual, illustrative medium as well as the research is there. So, for example, A alphabet is for the anthem. So it's for the national anthem. It's the Jana Gana Mana. So, it's about the complete journey of the Jana Gana Mana. Who wrote it? Rabindranath Tagore ji wrote it. So the illustrations are there, and so like this, like C, for example, is for culture and cuisines of India. Now we have so many kinds of cuisines. So every cuisine has been illustrated in that one page, which has been dedicated to the C alphabet, as well as the different cultures of India. D, for example, is for the dances of India. So, the children get to know more about their culture, their heritage, and this book is mainly for the age group of 8 to 9 years. But I must confess that I relearned a lot about India as I researched the book, and it's made me ever so proud of being an Indian because, so many times we don't know so much about our country, but when we actually start, wanting to know about it, we get to know so much. So I would definitely, suggest that parents, if any bookshops are open, if you, once the lockdown gets more relaxed, if you can get this book, it's a great way of spending, an afternoon
Time together.
Time
But
together.
this is something that you brought up, which is very close to our hearts, Shalu, because story time is a very important time, not just in our virtual learning program at the study school, but even when we were in our campus, it was very much a daily affair. And when we do story time, in fact, recently I've been reading to children on other platforms as well. The important thing is you don't take the words or the image only. You really expand from that. So like you said, the range of your alphabet book is for older children. It's not for children learning the alphabet necessarily, because then you take an A or a B or a C and grow it into a sea of possibilities. And that to me is a great platform for creativity. When I was little, I actually didn't learn to read for a long time. No one knew this. They didn't figure it out because I was kind of a shy child, so I was quiet. They didn't know that I had no idea what was being taught in the class. But what I did do is, my sister used to read a lot. I would sit and look at her books and look at the pictures and make up stories. And I think that was probably my greatest creative journey, where I had all these facilities in front of me, but I had no one telling me what they meant. So I was able to find out through my own mind, my own stories. Another childhood memory of mine, which again for creativity is important, is we used to have these very special puzzles which people would bring from abroad.
Yeah,
You remember, Shalu?
remember that. Yes.
It was either a 500-piece puzzle or a
Yes.
1,000-piece puzzle or a 5,000-piece
Yes.
puzzle.
Yes.
And in our house, we had a 5,000 piece puzzle. And there was a part of the house dedicated to this puzzle, and little bits were made of it. And I knew the corners had to be made first and the straight lines, and then you came into the inner part. I spent endless amount of time looking at the puzzle and, just not being able to do a thing with it. So I don't know, the combination of choosing the right level for the child and then also creating an aspiration for something beyond what they can do. So
It's very important for parents to spend quality time with the child,
yes.
have fun with them, become kids with them, because you're never going to get these years back. So like you said, even like a small thing like a puzzle, if you spend that time with your child making the puzzle together, or doing activities together, that will really mean so much to the child.
So here's Vibha, Veda's mom. She already asked you about one question. Her other question is about the difference between, how do you differentiate between creative, messy exploration and destructive response to an unattended act? And at the same time, we have Tanu, Veronica's mom, asking, during the lockdown, children are not going out, and when we are their only guides, so to speak, for their creativity, what can we do to make them more creative? So I think Tanu's question has been looked into earlier as well, but if you give it in the context of this messy and destructive, it'll be very beneficial.
I think as a parent, you need to just persuade your child, not to be messy and destructive. Supposing, the child is getting frustrated, they want to express themselves through that behavior, be patient with the child, I would say, and try to engage the child in another activity. Talk to the child, or, just, start having fun with the child, just make him laugh, or do some crazy things together, fun things together. At the same time, if the child is being messy, sometimes welcome that. It's fine to be messy, because you're a child. The child is what, 3 years old, maybe a 4-year-old child. So I mean, it's fine to be messy at that time, it's fine to be a little destructive at that time, but at the same time, talk to the child, you know and try and, balance is the key. You have to create the balance yourself as a mother. You know how your child will behave by what you say, how you act with the child. So it's important for the mother and child bonding, that the mother, practices that balance, in the right way with the child.
Shalu, do you lose your cool with your kids?
When they were children, I didn't really lose my cool at all. I remember, because my children tell me this. They said, "Mom, you never, said anything to us, and you never, forced us to do anything." And so I said, "So see, it's fine, because you turned out fine." So what they tell me now is that, "Mom, we used to see you the way you were." So I used to be always very busy, Shivani, just like you are. Because we are not only just homemakers, we're also trying to, like, do something that we are passionate about in our lives. So the children saw that. And they also then, thought, okay, my mom is working so hard. She's so disciplined. She is so perseverant about whatever she does. So they learn those values by observing the parents. So they also, then emulate that.
I think that's really key. We have 30 million mums being reached out to through Momspresso. And I think this message is really key. If you have a trauma and how you live through it, if you have a challenge and how you rise to that, if you have relationships and how you work to cement them, is really what your children are observing. And I think one of the very key things, which I will use this platform and this Study School Stay Connected and Learn program, is to say your parents, which includes your in-laws, by the way, are an incarnation of the Almighty.
Yes.
And if you think of that, you will become so much more supportive of what they say or do, so much less easily influenced by reacting in a negative space, that your relationships will benefit from this connection being reinforced. And remember one thing, if you have no money in the bank, it's not going to show in your account. So if you have no input in these very important relationships, it's not going to yield any result.
Absolutely.
Shalu, some experiences of yours, your early days, and how you cemented relationships to make sure that your children were brought up in an environment where creativity can only thrive when there is some semblance of stability also.
Yes, absolutely. So my children grew up in a joint family system. So we three families lived together for many, many years, especially when they were much younger. So, they spent a lot of time with their cousins, with their aunts and uncles and with their grandparents. So I think the values that they learned, the value to share things, the value of, being there for, each other, as well as to listen to the older generation, because children are very, very close to the grandparents. They're not so close to the parents, but the grandparents and the grandchildren have a very different kind of a bond, which is a very nice bond. So my children were very fortunate to be able to experience all of that, and that actually made them into the human beings that they are today. At the same time, stability with your husband, with your in-laws, with the family, the extended family around you is very important. Like you said, the children are observing everything that you're doing. And supposing even with the staff at home, we must be more kind towards them, because the values of kindness, the values of endurance, there's so many values that the child must learn. And they will learn how? By observing the parents. Recently, I was talking to my daughter about the value of endurance. Endurance means, to look at and to look at any kind of inconvenience cheerfully, and get over it. So I was talking to her about that, because in this COVIDian times, the children are a little like frustrated, sitting at home. They can't meet their friends. All the activities have to be done from online, at home. So I was talking to her about endurance. I said, it's such a great quality to have, that any inconvenience that comes to you, you must look at it cheerfully and try to make the best of it. So I think these values children have to learn from the parents. Parents must talk to the children about that. Also, we were very fortunate that we had a Swamiji from the Vedanta Academy, Swami Partha Sarthiji, who we follow. So he used to come and stay with us every year, once a year. He lives in Lonavala near Bombay. So, having him stay with us, with his disciples, it was a full house. So we only had like 3 bedrooms. So the children's bedrooms were given to Swamiji and his disciples. And of course, children used to move in into our bedroom. So, that whole atmosphere of just being there for each other, of sharing, and, not having any like kind of thing that this is mine and this is yours, that really helped us to grow as a family.
Shalu, what you've just said is so important for this discussion, because when we're talking about boosting a child's creativity, the primary space for creativity comes from selflessness. And if everything is about, this is my book, this is my bed, this is my room, this is my pen, this is my parent even, it's too my-centric.
Yes.
For to go beyond into that spirituality where creativity comes in and becomes such a consuming passion that nothing matters. When you were saying, Shalu, how you are dancing and you are completely lost in it, there are times when I do one step, and in that step I can keep on doing it, and it's almost like like you're chanting a mantra or something, and you're so lost in it, nothing else exists. So similarly, for children to know that everything is not for you and by you and focused around you, and when you step out of that, it really is a different space. We have a question from Manpreet, who is the mother of Manvi, and she is asking, all parents want their children to be good at everything, so this multitasking leads to higher cortical development, according to the theory of use it or lose it, or is it just an overzealous burden on our little ones?
I think when the child is just starting out, as a parent, you can make the child try out different activities, new activities, but you will see where your child's interest lies, at a certain age. It will become obvious to you. So at that time, you just inculcate for the child to develop that interest further. I personally think multitasking might not be a good idea for a child. It's too much pressure, because I think academics play a very important role in our child's development, especially in India. So academics, sports, as well as, any kind of creative art. So there should be a balance between the three. You can't have three creative arts, the child doing three kinds of creative arts, and then not concentrating enough on academics or sports. So one should choose one creative art which the child is very passionate about as well, after having tried out many different kinds of art forms. And then sports, definitely, because sports teaches you so many things, mainly sportsmanship. Like
Yes.
both our husbands are sportsmen, so we know, and your daughter is also into riding, just like my son is into riding as well. So we understand the meaning of, how sports is so important for an overall character,
Yes.
growth of character, as well as, your own personal self. So I think a combination of these three would be perfect for a child.
So we have a question that's just come in. Neha Suneja saying, my 3-year-old son loves to dance. Is it okay to put him in a dance class? And if yes, how?
Yes, of course. I mean, if he loves to dance, that's amazing, because dance is a complete form of exercise as well.
Yes.
Like all the whole body and the mind and the soul, everything is combined together in this one form, which is what I believe. But I think 3 years, let him just dance the way he's dancing right now. Don't put him in any structure, right now. Let him just express himself the way he's expressing. Put on the music, let him dance, let him have fun. When he turns 6, at that time, introduce him to different kinds of dance forms. I mean, you can introduce him to an Indian classical dance form or a Western dance form according to his interest, and see where it lies, and then, encourage him to pursue that.
Yes, Chalu, that's very key, to just allow them to have that free flow of pure enjoyment and exposure at the same time. Because when I started classical dance, I was 9 years old. And the reason why my mother started me, there was no one in our household who used to dance. It was because she felt that I was loving dance so much. Now, frankly, if she had put me in formal classes earlier, I may have stopped being this person who was always
Yes.
swaying. So that inner thing that comes, I find even with my daughter, when she does ballet, when she's doing her classes, my little one, she is very controlled and very structured. And then when she improvises, there's so much joy that I
Interaction
so I think that improvisation has to be allowed
has
to.
to be allowed. I think you should make any activity that your child do fun for the child, so that the child wants to do it.
Yes. So the Salujas have a question, and that is, can we discuss the role of television and mobiles in creative development of toddlers?
I think it's very important to discuss that, because being at home, that is one thing everyone's watching right now, the TV or even the internet, like small children have iPads now, right? Like from the age of 9 years onwards. So, but I don't know how old their child is. If the child is below
Younger, much younger.
so then, of course, I mean, TV is not a good option for the child to be watching right now, and neither is the mobile phone for sure. I mean, you must engage the child in maybe reading books, making puzzles, or even doing fun activities. Like just give him like a large sheet of paper, give him lots of colors and crayons. Let him do whatever, he wants to do. Put on music, dance with the child, you know, put on some karaoke thing from the internet, sing with the child, I mean, do crazy things like that, do fun things, because let them be kids, become kids with them. I keep telling that to all the younger parents who I meet sometimes, because I remember, when my kids were growing up, I still wish we could get those years back. Now they're adults, so these are valuable years, and we must enjoy them to the fullest with our children.
Absolutely, Shalu. When my kids were small and I had to put them to bed, I used to sing to them, and I was learning German. So I combined my German and I combined my bedtime lullaby to them, and I used to say, Gute Nacht, Kinder, gute Nacht. Morgen werden wir wieder treffen uns. Gute Nacht, Kinder.
Shivani, you are so creative. You're amazing. And I think study at the school is so, I mean, they should be grateful to have you heading it now, because I'm sure you'll bring in so much to the school that it was lacking, last few years.
The Shalu, the thing is that we have such a huge campus. It's half an acre of greenery dedicated to children between the age of 1.5 to 4.5, 5. There are bunny rabbits. There are yoga spaces. There is, the absolute ability to go out and garden. I'm surprised the children know more about the flowers than I do because they've seen them growing in their garden. And every week we have a theme, and then around that theme the children work. So if it's flowers, they learn about flowers because the theme will be selected at a time when it's, say, March and all the flowers are in full bloom.
Yes.
And in our online classes, we had a session last week, in fact, on the helpers during COVIDian times. So I thought, even though they're just so small, our teachers were wise enough and kind enough to think, if suppose, God forbid, someone in their vicinity gets sick, it should not come as a shock to them. We cannot insulate them in a way that they don't know what's going on. Similarly, for their own safety, to know what washing hands, what sanitizing is all about, what being grateful to the people who are stepping out and doing their bit, even in these difficult times. So I'm really grateful to the staff and to the teachers for the way they planned the curriculum, to the parents, because while they were coming to school, it was very easy. In fact, I created a facility for the parents at the study school where we had a cafe, because I felt that, as parents, when we used to go to pick up children and have to stand outside in line and in the heat, and sometimes they'd be late, and you're just saying, oh, this is terrible. Instead, you can sit in a cafe, chit chat with each other, think of how to boost your child's creativity, maybe even have things that you can go for together and take your children for. So enjoy that. All that, of course, in these COVIDian times is not possible. But having said that, the parents have come forth so fantastically in the virtual classes, because it's not possible to get children so small to engage without the parents really being on the ball.
Shivani, we must explain to the children that this is the new normal now, because all scientists are saying that, there could be another pandemic in the near future, after this is over. So, the children have to kind of understand that as well, that this is the new normal. Sometimes you can go out, sometimes you have to stay in and, try to make the best of whatever situation you are in at that point of time. So resilience is very important to be taught to the child from a young age as well.
Shalu, I can't thank you enough for your time and your thoughts and your sharing of such purity, because when you've shared, you've really shared from a personal space as well. And on behalf of the study school, on behalf of Momspresso, I'd like to thank you for being with us and helping us on this creative journey with our children, of telling us how important resilience is, because it really is, and the joy of every moment. Because as Shalu said, these moments don't come back. She and I both have grown-up children. We have to wait for them to say they want to be with us. You have your children who are saying, Mama, 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 and Papa also. So our ma'am, dad, mom, and me virtual learning program is really about bringing all those elements of a child's life together. And it's of utmost importance. Enjoy every step of the way and stay connected with us. Next week on the Study School Stay Connected and Learn series, we have our discussion on technology and children. How much is too much? And we have a wonderfully interesting guest on that as well. I shall reveal to you during the course of the week, and we'll ask you for your questions again. Thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart, Shalu.
Thank you so much, Shivani, for giving me this wonderful opportunity. Thank you so much.